Some character interactions are a little awkward, sometimes they're great, but occasionally you get the ones that are pure magic. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Maria. Today I am very excited because I am going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite things about the Disney parks, and that is Disney character interactions. Meeting Disney characters has always been something that I really loved, even as a child, even when it was like not cool, you know, that age when you're like a preteen and you're too cool for that. I still loved it. While I've always loved visiting the characters, even from a young age, I think it definitely got easier over time as I got older. It started to come more naturally to me. I know that oftentimes people say that they're nervous to meet Disney characters because they never know what to say or how to act. Some people say that they prefer to meet the fur characters like Mickey and Friends over the face characters like the princesses because they say that it's a little easier to interact with them. But I honestly love meeting every Disney character I possibly can. Of course, even nowadays, I have the occasional awkward interaction with the character, you know, the ones where you just don't really click. In the past, I was always a little nervous too, but like I said, now that I'm older and I've had more practice meeting them, it comes a lot more naturally to me and it's just always a magical time. So like I said, some character interactions are a little awkward, sometimes they're great, but occasionally you get the ones that are pure magic. If you follow my Instagram, you've probably noticed that I really love asking my followers to share their best Disney character interaction memories. I always love hearing their stories because I really feel like Disney character interactions are some of the purest magic of the Disney parks. So today I'm going to be sharing my top 5 character interactions with you guys. These are the character interactions that I really treasure and the ones that prove to me that the Disney parks truly do create magic. So without further ado, let's begin with number 5. Number 5 on my list is actually a character interaction from my childhood. It was such a special memory for me though that I can still remember it pretty clearly. As I've mentioned before, my favorite princess is Princess Aurora, and when I was about 6 years old, my dad took me to the Grand Floridian where we participated in the Disney Perfectly Princess Tea Party. The Perfectly Princess Tea Party is still running, but basically if you haven't heard of it before, it is a princess tea party where Princess Aurora comes in at the Grand Floridian and you visit in the tea room with her and you get to participate in all these storytelling games, kind of like Enchanted Tales with Belle if you've done that before. You get little tiny finger sandwiches, everyone dresses up, and then you even get to bring home lots of gifts like your very own Sleeping Beauty doll. It's quite the event. If I had to pick one favorite memory from my childhood, this would be it. Princess Aurora has been my favorite princess literally since I was a baby because my dad would always call me his little Sleeping Beauty. So having him take me to the tea party has always been such a magical memory of mine. I remember he was actually the only dad there, so when we all reenacted the story of Sleeping Beauty, he got to be Prince Philip, and I remember just being so proud of him. I remember how happy I was being able to dress up in my Princess Aurora dress and really feeling like a princess, because that's what Disney magic does after all. Getting to have tea with Sleeping Beauty herself was definitely a dream come true for little Maria. I seriously wish they would extend the age limit because honestly, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Coming in at number 4 is meeting Cinderella in the Princess Fairy Tale Hall in Magic Kingdom in February 2020. Like I explained at the beginning of this video, all of these character interactions are ones that had a really special and personal meaning for me. And this visit with Cinderella was nothing short of magical. As I talked about in my CRP tag video, at the start of my February 2020 trip to Walt Disney World, I received my acceptance to participate in the Walt Disney World Cultural Representative Program. It was literally my biggest dream come true, and the best part was that I got to celebrate in Walt Disney World all week. One of the highlights of that trip was this meet with Cinderella. As I also talked about in previous videos, I applied to work for the Walt Disney Company many times before I was accepted. There were a lot of times where I was very discouraged, but part of what got me through it was thinking about Cinderella and her story. I'm a really musical person, and something that would always lift my spirits was singing "A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes" to myself. "A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes" and Cinderella's story always remind me to never give up on my dreams and to keep pursuing them. Because after all, no matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dream that you wish will come true. So when we met Cinderella in the Princess Fairy Tale Hall, I was so excited to see her. I ran over, I gave her the biggest hug, and once we began talking, I told her about how my dream had just came true the day before. I told her how it has always been my dream to be a cast member in her kingdom and how her story inspired me to never give up. As we were talking, I honestly had like tears coming to my eyes. I could tell that when I said that to her, it like really moved her. She gave me the biggest hug, and it was just so special to be able to celebrate with her, especially after how much her story meant to me throughout my journey of achieving my dream. She congratulated me and was so kind, and she told me that she couldn't wait to share her kingdom with me. It meant so much to me. She asked me when I was set to start my program, and she told me that I definitely had to come back and visit her. We took some magical photos together, and I left with the biggest smile on my face. Number 3 is yet another character interaction with Princess Aurora, but this time it is in Disneyland in 2016. The last time I visited Disneyland was in 2016 during the 60th Diamond Celebration. My grandma knew that it was a dream of mine to visit Disneyland during the 60th Diamond Celebration, and like a fairy godmother, she made that dream come true. She and I got to visit Disneyland in February of 2016, and we had the best time together. I got to meet Aurora outside right next to Sleeping Beauty Castle, and it was wonderful. I always make it my goal to meet Aurora at least once every Disney trip, but this I think was the best interaction I've had with her since that tea party when I was little. She gave me the biggest hug when I ran over, and she held my hands as we talked together. She asked me my name, and then we started talking about the Diamond Celebration. I told her how beautiful her castle looked and how I was so overjoyed to be visiting. She told me that Prince Philip and her 3 good fairies helped her to decorate the castle with all the glittering diamonds. I always say that every time I meet Aurora, it's like catching up with an old friend. Like I said, she's been my favorite princess since I was a baby, and while every year I'm older, our friendship is older too. I remember that she remembered my name and said goodbye to me as I was leaving, and to definitely come back and visit her again soon. It was just such a special character interaction for me, and I'll never forget it. Coming in at number 2 is meeting Rapunzel in Magic Kingdom in 2018. I love talking about this character interaction because it is honestly one of the most fun interactions I've ever had with a character. Aside from Aurora, Rapunzel is also my favorite princess. I feel like out of all the Disney characters, she's the one I relate the most to, and I really see so much of myself and my personal story in her own. I feel a really strong connection to her, and this visit with her in 2018 in Magic Kingdom was absolutely incredible. I consider myself to be a pretty energetic person, sometimes a little bit too much, unfortunately. But what I really love about Rapunzel is you can run over to her and get all excited, and she will match that energy. So naturally, I ran over, I gave her a huge hug, and I told her how I was so excited to be visiting her. I was actually doing a Rapunzel Disney bound when I visited her, and I couldn't wait to show her. So immediately she pointed out my outfit. She said she loved how our dresses matched. She also made me laugh because she told me that she was pleased that I knew how to wear the tiara properly on my head, unlike Pascal, who's always telling her to wear it like a bracelet. I had actually brought Rapunzel a little gift when I visited her. She was so excited. She asked me what medium I used, and I told her just like pencil crayons, and then we had a lot of fun talking about art. She said that her parents in her kingdom weren't too fond of her painting on the walls. I said my mom wasn't either, but we both agreed that painting on canvas just wasn't as fun as the walls. We just had such a great time and just clicked so well. We talked about so many different things, about our towers and our kingdoms and all our different adventures. In the end, she gave me a huge hug. We both said it was the best day ever. It was such a fun character interaction. I really felt like we were clicking just like best friends. And while the character interaction itself was absolutely magical, something that made it extra special for me was something that my boyfriend Josh told me about after we had left. If you follow my Instagram, you've probably noticed that I'm very lucky to have Josh as a boyfriend because he's actually a professional photographer and videographer. So while I was meeting Rapunzel, he was taking all my magical photos. After we left Princess Fairy Tale Hall and I was grinning from ear to ear, Josh told me that Rapunzel's character attendant and PhotoPass cast member were talking to him while I was meeting Rapunzel. They asked Josh if I was a Disney cast member because they were surprised by how well Rapunzel and I got along. Back in 2018, I had just begun applying to work for the Walt Disney Company, so I was not yet a Disney cast member. But hearing that other Disney cast members thought that I was a cast member too meant everything to me. It was already an incredibly special interaction with Rapunzel, but I'll never forget that moment of those cast members believing that I was a cast member too. That memory really kept me going during all the discouraging moments as I kept applying for the company. And now I can proudly say that I am on my way to achieving just that. So naturally, I have saved the best for last, and coming in the top spot is my interaction with Mickey Mouse himself in February 2020. Now, before I begin, I want to stress that this moment is honestly the most magical thing that has ever happened to me in Disney, and seriously one of the top best moments of my entire life. If someone ever asked me to sum up the magic of the Disney parks, this is the story that I would tell. This character interaction with Mickey is everything to me. So this past February in 2020, I met Mickey at the International Gateway in Epcot. So on the trip, Josh and I were with our awesome friends Kevin and Sarah, and we all waited in line together to meet Mickey. When it was our turn, I went up first to meet him. I ran over, and of course he gave me a big hug, but when I pulled away, I told him about my dream. I told Mickey that I had just achieved my lifelong dream and that I was going to be a cast member in his kingdom. I told Mickey that I knew he had always been cheering me on throughout my life, and I told him thank you for believing in me all these years. I'm literally gonna cry just thinking about it, guys. Mickey did a little aw shucks and got so excited for me. He pointed out my Mickey earrings that I was wearing, and I told him of course I always had to have a little bit of him with me. Then I showed him my Disney journal and asked if he could sign it for me. Mickey flipped through my journal, and I told him about how I use it to document all my adventures and dreams. He signed my page, but then flipped to the very front. Mickey then went over to his character attendant and asked her for a black Sharpie. Then Mickey flipped back open to the very front of my journal, and he pointed at me, and I knew that he was asking for my name. He pointed again, and I told him the spelling. At first I thought he was just going to do a personal autograph in the front, but then he spent a lot of time writing in it, and I realized that he was writing something special in my journal just for me. So I stood there for a while, and I started to cry. After he was done, he gave my journal over to our friends, and he went back and just gave me the biggest hug. I'm seriously gonna cry again. Mickey just held me for so long. He patted my head, he held me tighter as I cried on his shoulder, and I just couldn't believe it. I hugged him back and I just said, thank you for everything, Mickey. He just spent so much time with me and kept letting me know just how proud he was of me, of achieving this dream of mine. After we pulled away, he wiped my tears, he kept giving me kisses, and then he even started playing with my hair and being silly to get me to laugh. We took some pictures together and I couldn't stop smiling, and it was just incredible. So then Mickey took some pictures with Josh and our friends Kevin and Sarah, and we took some group photos together. After our group photos, just as I was about to say goodbye to Mickey, he turned back to me and grabbed my hand. Then he motioned to his character attendant that he'd be leaving, and he took me on a little walk down World Showcase. I could not stop smiling. I'd always wanted to walk with a character before, and I could not believe that my first time ever was with Mickey himself. He took me down to visit one of his cast member friends, and he pointed to my CRP celebration button and got so excited for me. I told her how I would be working just over in the Canada Pavilion, and it was so nice to talk to her for a little bit. We then walked for a little bit longer together, holding hands and skipping as we went. And then when it was time for Mickey to go, he gave me one last big hug. I said goodbye, and then I turned over to Josh, and he caught my reaction perfectly. I could not believe that it just happened. It always makes me smile looking at the crazy grin on my face in the photos that he took, because it was just so unbelievably magical. After Mickey left, I opened up my journal to see what he had written for me. So I'm not sure if you can see it clearly just because of the pattern, but he had written, "To Maria, have a magical day, see you real soon, your pal Mickey Mouse." So of course I started crying again. Out of all the character interactions that I've had in the past, I had never had one where a character spent so much time with me and just made me feel so incredibly special. Whenever I talk about my time with Mickey, as silly as it may sound to some people, though I truly believe it, I say that it felt like a gift from Walt Disney. Meeting Mickey in the parks is one of my favorite things to do, and I often say that's because when I look at Mickey, I see Walt. So having Mickey spend so much time with me and telling me how proud he was of me, it felt like Walt telling me that too. I don't know where I would be without Walt. He gave me my dream, and I wouldn't be the same without that dream. It's been the biggest part of who I am for the majority of my life. And that gift from Mickey felt like it was him telling me he was proud of me. This moment was pure magic, and I'll always be grateful for it. So yes, that is the most magical thing that's ever happened to me, and the best character interaction that I've ever had by far. Thank you so much for listening to my top 5 Disney character interaction stories. I hope you had fun hearing them. And please comment down below your best Disney character interactions. Like I said, I always love hearing about them. No two character interactions are the same, so please share your stories. I'd love to discuss. So until my next video, I hope you all have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon. Bye!